All right, so just to recap, what are fetters? So this is page 26 in that printout book I gave you. According to the teaching of the Buddha, all living beings exist in a continuous succession of birth and rebirth called samsara, wheel of existence. Beings are tied to the wheel of existence by a series of mental attachments called fetters, which are 10 in number. These mental attachments are called fetters because they are like a chain that binds us to samsara. Given that the ultimate goal of Buddhist ultimate goal of Buddhist is to attain Nibbana, we need to eliminate all 10 fetters by continuous effort, either in one go or by the 4 stages of sainthood, in which the fetters get eliminated at various stages. Okay, so at the end of the lesson, we have the 4 stages of sainthood and how the fetters get eliminated. But let's just recap. So Sakkaya Ditthi is the personality belief. So I was not yesterday, when was it? Last time we spoke. Telling you guys that through our eyes and ears and nose, then our tongue, our body, and our mind, we feel like we exist. How? Because when I see you, there are 2 things that I then feel. One is there is me seeing you. Okay, so it's through this whole idea of me that all the sense doors give me this understanding, this feeling that I exist. So I can see, I can hear, I can smell, I can taste, I can touch, and I can think. So that is how we have this understanding. And then the Buddha said that's a misunderstanding because you actually don't exist. And why have you got this misunderstanding? Because your normal sense doors cannot perceive it, cannot perceive the reality. So if you want to really see the reality, you have to not use your sense doors, but actually close your eyes and start meditating. And through Vidarshana, which is insight meditation, you actually get to experience firsthand, right? It's called experiential wisdom. You get to experience firsthand that you do not exist. Okay, so that is the part. So that's why the Buddha called Vidarshana as Ekayano Maggo, the only way to understand non-existence, and therefore the only way to get enlightenment. So Nibbana is not something that you can study and pass an exam and get to, right? It is something you have to practice and realize by yourself. And the path to do that has been explained, the Noble Eightfold Path. And through various examples in the Dhamma, we know that it can be very difficult because, Sopaka was a child, Sunita was an uneducated person, then Maha Angulimala Rahatan Vahanse was sort of a serial killer / terrorist, right? And then there are various other people who got enlightened. So therefore, it can't be something that is impossible to do. On the contrary, it should be something quite reachable and possible, right? So, Sakkaya Ditthi, this belief in personality self. Vicikiccha is having doubts about the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the system of training, which is this whole eightfold path, things of the past, things of the future, both past and the future. So this is about things like, I don't think I existed in previous births. That is doubting things of the past. I don't think I'll get born again. That is, if you're not enlightened, you are stuck in a wheel of samsara. So some people don't believe that they are in previous births. Some people don't believe that they're going to get born again. And some people don't believe that there's this whole existence beyond this birth. And they don't believe in the dependent origination. So the dependent origination is something that the Buddha discovered, that there's a reason why things happen. And if you remove the reason, then things don't happen, right? So craving leads to getting, attached to things, ignorance about our true self causes us to believe that there is a me, there's a I, there's a person, and there's a feeling of permanence in that, which leads us to believe that things we crave can be achieved, and they are fun and pleasurable. Okay? So anyway, Vichikicha is about having these doubts. So it's good to just think about it and study on the go. So Sakkaya Ditthi is this personality belief, believing that there's a me, myself, I. And Vichikicha is about having doubts about the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the system of training, things of the past, things of the future, and give me a second. Just pause a bit. All right, so yeah, that is about skeptical doubt. Then Silabhata Paramasa, which is adherence to heretic rites and rituals. That is about how people thought they can go to nirvana, right? Enlightenment. So long before the Buddha, there were people in India who were looking for this enlightenment. Why were people looking for enlightenment? Because people over time realized that what we thought is fun is not really fun. What we thought is fantastic is not really fantastic. And therefore, life as we know, there are some things that is fun, but it's mostly not, because it keeps changing. And people like, they change too, right? And then we all fall sick and grow old and eventually die, and there's nothing fun in it. So what is this life all about? And so people are looking for, is there some permanent happiness? Is it possible? And so on. And what happened to the videos? They were not looking for what happened to the videos. Okay, that's my question. 6,000 years ago, people were wondering what happened to the videos. No, oops, no. All right, thank you. Okay, so the videos are back, right. Now, Silabhata Paramasa. So there were some people who believed that you can achieve enlightenment, or so what people were looking for was some permanent peace, some permanent happiness, because in life, as you and I know it, there are moments of happiness, right? But largely it doesn't stay, and largely life is boring or sad or this or that and everything else, right? So people were like, is there something we can do to make it like happy all the time, peaceful all the time? And they were looking for ways. So some people believed that one way to get rid of dukkha or suffering or sadness or unhappiness is to do things that makes you sad or unhappy, and then try to overcome it, right? So they thought, okay, let us some people thought, let us live like a goat. Yeah, so there's nothing fun or pleasurable about it, but they thought by doing that they can overcome our desire for greed and comfort and everything, and they will be able to achieve a permanent peace. So they would live and behave and eat and drink and sleep like a goat. Yeah, so no clothes, eat from your mouth, eat what goats eat, and so on. So some were like a bull, some were like a bat, and so on. Yeah. So what the Buddha said was, these heretic rites and rituals are not going to help. But now if you look at Buddhism, and don't go right in these for the exam, right? But this is just for your general knowledge. Now, if you see how people are practicing Buddhism now, right, there are all of these Buddha Puja that was not there before. At least when we were growing up, we haven't seen them. So there's this Maha Pichamal Puja, Maha Aushadha Puja, then this taking a, what do you call, a kodia and wrapping it around the dagaba, right? Or, I mean, they look like they are new designs created in the present, and probably to make some money out of it. Recently, I got a, what do you call, a article that said in London, there was this puja that they had organized. So they were saying, just like Anathapindika Sitatuma bought the Jetavana from the Jetha prince by taking gold coins and putting gold coins all across the land, right? He covered that land with gold coins. So similarly, they are saying there was this thing that said for Mother's Day in the UK, for people to buy a gold coin and contribute to cover some temple in London, the temple premises with gold coins, right? And they are saying that අර පින වගේම පිනක් කියලා. Come on, man, like how absurd can that get, right? And they say that the article or the advertisement said that you can transfer your merit to your mother instantly, right? So, I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous, right? And then the temple has partnered with the person who is selling the gold coins as well. So, I mean, it's such a business. So if people are going to believe that, then those heretic rites and rituals are still there. And I'm pretty sure so people believe that, you know, it will be equal to the punya karma that Anathapindika did. And then whatever the pin that gets accumulated can be transferred to your dear mom. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so that is one. Then comes Kamaraga, desire for sense pleasures. So this desire is twofold, right? So desire for sense objects and desire for sense gratification. So what is this desire for sense objects? So we like to see nice things, right? So we like to go on holidays and see a waterfall, right? You'd like to go on a holiday to the beach, overseas, yeah. And then for sense gratification. So the whole thing about how do we gratify our senses, you know, eat delicious food, right? Live in comfort for the body. Then what else? How many of you are into perfumes? Personally, I am not a big fan of perfumes because I sneeze. And that's a good thing because otherwise, you know, perfumes are quite expensive. So, so how many of you are into perfumes? Do you like perfumes? So it's okay. Perfumes are nice, right? I mean, you are lay people. You have a license to go and enjoy life. All right. So the thing with a Pruthakshana and the difference between a enlightened being is Pruthakshanas believe that doing this, and this, let's say doing X, Y, and Z gives you happiness. And they believe that if I do A, B, and C, that will lead to unhappiness. Whereas enlightened beings believe exactly the opposite. Doing X, Y, and Z that Pruthakshanas believe leads to happiness. Enlightened beings believe doing X, Y, and Z actually leads to unhappiness. And then what Pruthakshanas believe is unhappiness, enlightened beings believe it's happiness. So what do Pruthakshanas believe is happiness? So, you know, building comfortable homes, right? Living in a luxurious style and having wonderful children like you all. So for example, right? Happiness. Okay, so we are part of it as well, right? So you can see, you know, we have kids and we treat you all as kids as well. Lots of kids. So whereas enlightened beings say, you know, all of those things leads to unhappiness because everything changes and you will try all your life to not make it change. You'll try to keep it the same. And you have to put a lot of effort to build these things, to maintain them, to keep them, right? And in spite of all your efforts, things decay and cease to exist eventually. So they believe, therefore, those are the source of unhappiness. Then as Pruthagjanas, what do we think is unhappiness? Living alone with no one to talk to. Do you think that's fun? How many of you like to be alone? Sometimes? Would you like to be alone sometimes? Resenthi wants to be alone sometimes. All right. Okay, people, don't talk to Resenthi. Yeah, I know. I also would like to be alone. So Resenthi and Mitsuri are raising their hands. Personally, I also like to be alone. Actually, it's nice to be alone. You kids, your generation is always like that, right? You stay in your room, which is like a cave, and you hardly come out. You're hibernating, isn't it? Anyway, so it's not like occasionally being alone, right? So enlightened beings really like solitude. No talking, no TV, nothing to disturb the eye, the ear, and can just be by themselves quietly. They would believe it's happiness. So there are things that with age also, I mean. So for example, yesterday I was telling you, right, that there was this graduation, and as a faculty member, I went to the graduation. But after the graduation at 7 p.m., there was a party for the students and the staff, and it went on till late night. So I went only for the graduation. Usually I find parties boring. But look, there's nothing right or wrong in this. Okay, it's just that not everybody likes the same thing. So even when I was young, I found parties to be boring. But after I go, of course, then I also have some fun. But I kind of get it why these enlightened beings prefer to be on their own, because parties are like lots of people, lot of noise, and a lot of food and drinks and dancing and music, and then I'm like, boring, right? So and then a lot of my friends who were going for that was like, why? Come have some fun. So I'm like, yeah, nah, no thanks. So it's I'm definitely not enlightened, okay, far from it. But what I'm saying is that I get it why it can be so contradictory, right? What people normally consider fun doesn't necessarily have to be fun for everybody. While somebody might like to go for a party and dance and whatever, somebody else might prefer to read a book, yeah? And that's fine too. I mean, of course, majority will be like, are you mad? What's wrong with you? But I think that's cool. It's all about what you like doing. I think that's cool. Anyway, so this desire for sense pleasures, right? So the reason people are so attached to sense pleasures is because they take things impermanent as permanent, painful as pleasurable, and unsubstantial as substantial. Yeah, absolutely. So we put a lot of value into these things, right? We put a lot of value into tasty food. We put a lot of value into comforts, luxuries, right? So that is why, I mean, remember the power cuts and all, and remember how everybody goes like, oh God, here's another power cut, right? Yeah, of course, it's inconvenient, but it's not a suffering, it's not a quote unquote suffering. It's just no lights, that's it, right? No big drama in it, right? It's just now there is lights, suddenly there is no lights. That's it. Yeah. But but if you are like really, really, really attached to everything that is comfort is dependent on electricity, then of course it's going to be very, very hard, right? But so this whole kamaraga thing, you can experience this if you are really into sense pleasures, and if you feel that life without a fan, without a light, without this and that life is, my God, it's horrible. then of course it will be horrible, right? But if you feel that, okay, life without a fan and a light is inconvenient, but it's all right, then it's actually going to be all right. Okay, so this is all in the mind. It's all in the mind. So, and that is why the Pratagyanas have such a lot of sorrow and suffering in their life, and enlightened beings, they are feeling peaceful and happy because the things that we put so much of value into, they don't. Okay, so what else do we put value into? Think of the various metals we dig out from the earth, right? So you can call them gold, you can call them silver, you can call the various stones you dig up diamonds or rubies or whatever, but these are things we are given a value to, and therefore it becomes very precious. And if you lose it, you lose not only the material, you lose your mind as well, right? Because you have put such a lot of value into it. But when you really think about it, what value is it? Something you dug out from the earth, right? Yeah, and imagine if somebody in the past decided that chicken poop is valuable. Chicken poop, yeah. Have you seen them? Little pellets, like black pellets like thing. And then if somebody decided that and it was suddenly short in the world and everybody wanted it, that's how value comes, right? People want it and there's not enough, and then the value starts shooting up, supply and demand. And then imagine everybody's going to collect chicken poop, right? And you're going to put it in your drawers, in your purse, in your pockets. Yeah. Chicken poop, yeah. Now, for an enlightened being, gold and chicken poop might be the same thing. No value. Yeah, possible. Okay. So we give values to things, and that is what causes all of this unhappiness in the world. So, for example, we want things to be permanent, right? We want not to grow old, not to fall sick, and certainly not to die. Now, but is that possible? No, because it's a natural order. If you're born, you will grow old, you will fall sick, and eventually you will die, right? It's not to say that you are going to be passive and let it happen. It's all about being realistic, yeah? And accepting that everything is changing all the time. Okay. Yeah. So Vyapada, it's all about ill will. Now, technically, when you try to have sense pleasures, when you try to indulge in sense pleasures, that is usually what puts you into a bad mood. Why? Because nothing happens as per plan. Yeah. So you are thinking of, let's say, hey guys and girls, or rather only girls and no guys, put the videos on, okay? So usually when you really like something, with that comes two other things. One is a fear that you will lose it, and a sadness and regret when actually you have lost it. And with that fear, sadness, and regret comes also a bit of anger and unhappiness related to that anger. Okay? So think of it like this. You go to a coffee shop or some cafeteria like place, and you see there are 3 nice donuts, and there are 5 people ahead of you in the line, right? And out of those 5 people, you can see, okay, one person took the donut, now only 2 more. Oh my God, I want one donut. Another person took the donut. Oh my God, don't you dare touch that donut. And there we go. Another person took the donut and no donuts. How do you feel? You will be a bit angry, right? So desire leads to anger. What else leads to anger? So when things are not going as per plan, you feel angry, you feel irritated, right? If somebody is scolding you, you will feel angry and irritated. So let's say your mom is scolding you, and all for the right reasons. Let's say your cup, you have drunk your milk or tea and you haven't washed your cup, and your room is a mess, and you were supposed to study, but instead you slept. So your mom is going na 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 na, like mothers usually do, and now you're angry. Why? You're angry because mom is going na 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 na, right? So even though she's going na for the right reasons, angry, right? So that is what ill will is all about. It's a so okay, here the words are very, very heavy. It says the desire to cause someone harm or injury. It is accompanied by hatred with a bit of selfishness. So you might read this and think that you are not like that, right? But think of the same thing at a subtle level, right? When we scold somebody, think of when you scolded somebody last, maybe your own mom, your brother, sister, a friend, right? The whole intention of scolding is to hurt, right? So we use harsh words, we use mean things, we tell them mean things to hurt their feelings, okay? And when you think that you were successful, there's a little bit of wicked joy in it, right? Have you heard people say, "Mang එයාට කිව්වා කනේ ඇඟිලි ගහ ගන්නව" කියලා? Yeah. They say it a bit with a bit of a wicked satisfaction, right? But essentially what you're doing is you're hurting that person's feelings. Now you might feel justified to do so because probably that person has hurt your feelings, right? But nevertheless, that whole intention to harm, cause injury. So harming and injury is not only physical, it's mental. In fact, today's day and age, it's mostly mental, right? We are not going to go and hammer somebody or beat up somebody. But we certainly do hurt people's feelings by the words we say. Words are like daggers sometimes, right? It's like daggers. So willingly causing someone hurt through action or speech is vyapada. Yeah. So then Ruparaga, craving for rebirth in the world of form or fine material realm. This is a desire by people who are disgusted with sense pleasures and see living in the sense sphere as suffering. When one is born in the fine material realm, one is free from lust for sense pleasures. Such rebirth happens only when a person has the ability to achieve ecstasies, rupa jhana, and so on. Aruparaga, craving for rebirth in the formless realm. Those who see suffering in the sensuous realm and in the world of form may develop the desire to be reborn in the formless realms and remain in a formless ecstasy. Now, what the Buddha told about this, so these are Brahma lokas, right? What the Buddha told about this is any rebirth leads to suffering, any rebirth, including the rebirth in Brahma loka. Why? As long as you are in the Brahma loka, everything is cool. But then what happens? Then, once you exhaust your, whatever the good karmas that led you there, patas, you fall down to what? No idea. It could be Satarapaya, it could be the human plane. Maybe you will become a really beautiful, cuddly Labrador. Yeah. Now you might think that's sort of a good idea, yeah, but really not. Okay. Today I was looking at my own Labrador and thinking, from the time she was a little puppy and she came to live with us, she's been in the 17 perches of land, and for her own protection, she's inside. We don't let her go outside, but that was us to decide and not her choice. And I was thinking, no matter how much you love your dog, the dog is in a prison, right? And that 17 perches is her world. So, yeah. Okay, so contrary to popular belief, I don't think being a cat or a dog in a very loving house is a lot of fun. Yeah. Anyway, Sattaloka is one of the apayas, Satarapayas, right? And then, of course, out of this Sanyojana, you have Mana, conceit. Mana implies looking at oneself with measuring oneself with others. It is referred to as the haughtiness of the mind. Now think of the times when you're the first, second, third in the class. This is very natural, right? Anybody who was first, second, or third in the class will look down on others and like, bunch of idiots. I'm the intelligent one, okay? Then think of kids who are very good at running. They become first, second, or third, and what do? They look at the others and think like, weaklings can't even run a race. Now, look, nobody thinks like that, but it's a feeling of superiority, right? I am better than others. This feeling of so this you get to see it in people who meditate, and they feel like, oh, I'm meditating now, so I'm better than the others who are not meditating. It's there, like if you take people who go and exercise and go to the gym and all, so they get this feeling that, they are better. And that is because, of course, all of those things are good things, and it takes talent and effort and determination and willpower to do those. So it is natural that they feel they are better than others, because not everybody does them. Not everybody even tries. Yeah. But what happens is that haughtiness leads to strengthening your self-image, right? So Sakkaya Ditthi is self-image, and even if you are let go of that self-image, that there is no me, myself, I, still this haughtiness gets left behind, that you are better than others, right? That feeling that you are better than others, the feeling that you deserve things to be better than others, right? So even after overcoming the first fetter, Sakkaya Ditthi, a residue of self-illusion remains as pride. With mana, one may want to display oneself over others with qualities one has, or most often things that one has. It is a way of balancing one's feelings of inferiority. Conceit impairs balanced judgment, which is required for mental development. Yeah, so funnily enough, all humans have this inferior complex, insecurity that I am not good enough. Right? All humans have this feeling that I am not good enough. So in that context, when you discover that you are good at something, that leads to haughtiness. You understand, right? So now somebody might think, okay, I am not pretty enough, right? And then somebody might think I am not clever enough. Somebody else might think I am not tall enough. I'm not short enough. Yeah, or I am not fat enough. I am not thin enough. Some issue or the other. So these are things. I'm not clever enough, right? These are things that bother human beings in general. And then in that process, when you discover that you're good at something, that gives you a haughtiness. That gives you a haughtiness. Okay, you have found something to take pride in, because you are better than others in it. That's how this haughtiness gets created. So similarly, in life, they say that your failures actually makes you a better person, because your successes only make you a haughty person. You feel conceit and pride. But when you fail, you learn to be humble, you learn to learn and grow from your mistakes. Okay? Uddacha, agitation, the restlessness of the mind, which comes from a lack of understanding that everything is subject to change. Restlessness, you can see this either at Dhamma school on Saturday when we meditate, or if you just focus on your mind, you will see that sometimes it's very, very restless, right? And agitation in the mind occurs when one fails to cope with change. Agitation also arises when people try to outdo others and excel in many spheres as possible. Agitation in the mind is opposite to mindfulness. Yeah, so today, for example, every Sunday I do a meditation. I hold a meditation class, and in that, one auntie was telling us that today after the meditation, she's very busy. She said, at the same time, there are three things that need to happen. So one is, she said, there's some event at the temple. She wants to attend that. But at the same time, she said there are some visitors coming from out of Colombo, so she has to attend to them. And on top of it, she said there was some samitya that she had to go to. So therefore, she said her mind was agitated. And she was also worried about how she's going to do all three. And I said, there's a fourth option also, which you missed. And she was like, what is that? I said, option 4 is to not do any of the above. Hey, this event at the temple, well, all the best. May it be successful. There is some summit here to attend. Well, you send your regrets. Sorry, I'm unable to attend today. Okay. There are some people coming to visit. Fine, you attend to them and then you excuse yourself. So life is not about being busy because it will drive you mad. Life is also about finding some time for yourself to calm down, to get yourself peaceful. Because if you don't, then others will experience the worst of you. You will be in a bad mood. Okay? So this whole agitation in the mind, sometimes it's because we put too many responsibilities or plan too many activities for us, not taking into consideration that you also need to rest and recharge a bit. Okay, so agitation is in the mind. And then lastly, ignorance. Ignorance arises from the lack of understanding that all compound things are impermanent, subject to suffering and absence, unsubstantial. Anitya, dukkha, anatta. Right? It is the lack of knowledge of the existence and scope of the Four Noble Truths. Due to ignorance, people believe that life, which is permanent and unhappy, to be permanent and happy. Ignorance and craving are the cause of karma. Greed and hatred are rooted in ignorance. All unwholesome states of minds are caused by ignorance. So we are, as protectionists, this is our mind, right? When you think of yourself, you feel there's a me. You feel that me. When you look at yourself in the mirror today, you see the same person that looked at you yesterday, and there is a feeling of nothing has changed. But actually, that's not true. You know that you are made of atoms and tiny particles, and everything is changing all the time. It's just that our eye can't see it. Okay? Our eye is not powerful enough to see it. That's all. So it's a limitation of the sense door, but not that. So our sense doors lead us to thinking that things are permanent. And the way we indulge in these sense pleasures gives us the impression that things are pleasurable, things are permanent and pleasurable. And this feeling of I exist. Whereas what the Buddha said is actually things are changing all the time. And if you try to find pleasure and peace in such things, it will lead to suffering. There's really no one here right now. Okay, so these are the 10 fetters. Now, how does this work in terms of eliminating these fetters and getting enlightened? Okay. Now, in order to explain that, we need to learn a few words. There are some keywords here given on page 28. Pratakshana, noble learner, aseka, sopadisesa nibbana, and anupadisesa nibbana. So what is a pratakshana? Any person who is still possessed with all the 10 fetters, binding them to the round of rebirth, samsara, who has not yet reached the first step of sainthood, is called a pratakshana. So pratakshana is anybody with all 10 fetters, right? Anyone with all 10 fetters is a pratakshana, because you will see that as you start breaking the fetters, then come the various stages of sainthood, what we call marga phala. So pratakshana is a person who has all 10 fetters and not yet reached the first stage of sainthood. Who is a noble learner or a seeker? This is a person who has achieved 3 stages of sainthood, but not the final stage of enlightenment. A seeker is what you call an arahant, who has accomplished and perfected the training. Okay, so Putakshana, noble learner, asek, or Putakshana, seka, asek. Putakshana is all the 10 fetters are there and not reach the first stage of sainthood. Noble learner is a person from so there are only 4 stages of enlightenment. Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arihat, right? So the first stage is called the stream winner or Sotapanna. Second stage is once returner or Sakadagami. And third stage is non-return or Anagami. And then lastly, fourth stage is Arahantship. So let's see how these fetters get broken. Okay, before that, there is 2 more things. Sopadisesa Nibbana, an Arahant who has extinguished defilements, but continues to live with the group, within the groups of existence. Yeah. So Anupadisesa Nibbana is an Arahant on passing away said to have entered Anupadi Nibbana, which is Nibbana without groups remaining. So when you become enlightened, some enlightened beings, they pass away in 7 days, like King Suddhodana, right? So he got enlightened in his old age, and he then passed away in a couple of days. Whereas if you take Sariputta Maharajana and say, Gulan Hamduro and so on, they chose to they had, of course, they had their Ayusha, and they continued to live, having been enlightened, right? So that's the difference of Sopadisesa Nibbana and Anupadisesa Nibbana. Now, how are the sainthoods coming? So first stage, stream winner, Kiani, you have broken the 3 fetters, Sakkaya Ditthi, Vichikicha, Silapata Paramasa, complete eradication. What happened to the videos? Let us see the videos, please. Complete eradication from a video. Did everybody come to the first stage of enlightenment? Right, there we go. Minanga, Sayumi, Sadini. Sadini was that Sadini, yo.
Yes, teacher.
What about your video done? Are you able to put it on?
මගේ බැටරි එක low වෙලා තියෙන එකයි.
Okay, but you're right. That's okay. All right. So, second stage. What happens in the second stage? Kamaraga and Vyapada get weakened. Now, what this means is, even though you are so one, right, you still have the sense pleasures. You indulge in the sense pleasures, and when you're angry, you are angry. Okay, that's what it means. So this is why people like Anathapindika Situtuma, Visakha Situtua, right, they became so one, but they continued very successful lay lives. They were married, they had children, they were running businesses. Yeah, because see, in so on, the only 3 that you completely eradicate is Sakkaya Ditthi, Vichikicha and Silapata Paranasa, right? Then Sakadagami Vada, Kamaraga and Vyapada weaken. It's not that it's completely eradicated, it weakens. And in the third stage, Anagami, Kamaraga and Vyapada completely eradicates. Completely. So 5 of the 10 fetters get completely eradicated by Anaga. But there are still 5 left. What are they? Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Mana, Uddacha, Avijja. Those 5 are still there. And only when you eradicate those 5, you become an Arahant. Okay? So page 29. So these are like exam questions. Explain this. A stream winner or Sotapanna is reaching the first stage of sainthood. At this stage, one completely eradicates the 3 fetters. So any person who still possesses the 10 fetters are bound to this cycle of birth and rebirth. Right. And then by sustained effort on the path of Pratakshana would reach a point where he or she gets a glimpse of Nibbana for the first time. This is described as a traveler in the night sees the landscape about him in a flash of lightning. Such a person is called a stream winner, as he or she has entered the stream that leads to Nibbana. The stream winner's goal is assured. He or she will reach Nibbana either in the same birth, if not in a successful birth, but definitely within 7 successful births. So the stream winner is an interesting concept. So what they say is, so those days anyway, there was no electricity, right? So when people were traveling, they would try to reach their destination before nightfall, because without electricity lighting up your road, you don't know whether there are large holes which you can fall and get injured, or you might trample some snake and get bitten, right? The people used to try and avoid nighttime travel for that reason. But imagine somebody who went out of the city and was returning home and got late and knows how to go home, but is not sure of the path. Like, is it safe? Is it dangerous? Are there any, unforeseen danger on the road? So he can't see, and he's walking carefully in the pitch dark. Imagine that there was a thunderstorm brewing, and there was some lightning just for a moment, and the entire place got lit up because of the lightning. And suddenly the person can see the entire road right up to the end of right up to his destination, and he can see it very clearly, and it looks fine and safe. And then everything goes black again. But now that he has got a glimpse, he now knows for sure that the path is clear and safe, and he walks confidently. Okay, so the stream winner is something like that. The stream winner has experienced for a moment the bliss of nirvana. It's peaceful, it's very happy, and therefore this person knows that this is definitely there. I have experienced it once, I can definitely get it permanently and keep striving. So that is why they say, if you're a stream winner, you have entered the stream. That is, you have got into a stream that is definitely going to flow to nirvana, and it might work out for you this birth itself. It might be next birth, if not definitely within 7 successive births. Right. With sustained effort and great courage, the stream winner will reach the second stage, which is once returner. So what does it mean by once returner? He is not capable of completely freeing himself from the 2 fetters, which is kamaraga and vyapada. The once returner is so called because he'll be born in the human world one more time only. So in the present birth, if he doesn't attain Nibbana, he'll be born in the human plane only one more time. Sakadagami is called once returner. Then Anagami is called non-returner. A person who reaches Anagami state and passes away will not be born in the human plane again. Right? That is what non-returner means. So once return is Sakadagami, that if you get born again just once in the human plane. But Anagami means you will not get born again in the human plane. Of course, enlightenment means you don't get born again. Okay, so that is the lesson. Okay, there's one more thing called lower fetters and higher fetters. That's in page 30, that small paragraph. The first 5 fetters, which keeps a being tethered to the sensuous realms, are called the lower worlds, lower fetters. The second group of fetters, which keep beings confined to fine material and immaterial realms, are the higher realms, or the higher fetters. It's just a small distinction. Okay, so that's the lesson on fetters. So usually the question is, explain what fetters are, list down the 10 fetters. Yeah, so then you write what a fetter is, then you list down. So whenever you have to list down something, it's best to write it in Pali and English both. Okay, so when you're studying these fetters, make sure you study the Pali and the English. So Fetters is Sanyojana. So Sakaya is personality belief. Vichikicha is skeptical doubt. Silabhata Paramasa is adherence to heretic rites and rituals. Kamaraga is desire for sense pleasures. Vyapada is ill will. Ruparaga is craving for rebirth in the world of form or fine material realm. Aruparaga is craving for rebirth in the formless realm. Mana is conceit. Uddacha is agitation. Avijja is ignorance. Right? So then comes the terms Putakshana, Seka and Aseka. How do you explain it? And then the stages of sainthood and how they get eradicated in each stage. All right, so let me stop there. Who has school tomorrow?
Me.
Okay, then time to go to sleep, children. So that's the lesson on fetters. And let's do a paper when we meet on Saturday, right? And I'll do another lesson as well on Saturday. Okay, good times. I will see you soon. Okay, Putta. All right. Sarvan Pranam and good night. Bye.